me.
But sometimes I'll play it just directly to the TV, Psychonauts 2. And dude, man, like, I don't know. I think it looks good. You know, like, it is weird. It's the weird art style, but like, I really think it looks good. It's really smooth looking. Like, even though it's like that weird, bizarre art style,
Yeah.
like, it looks good in 4K and 60 FPS, and like, all the characters have smooth character models. There's nothing like choppy at all about it. Like, I think it looks pretty darn good, man. Like, it's not Ratchet and Clank, but it looks really
definitely
good.
not a
No,
Ratchet
it's not
and
Ratchet and Clank, but like, it looks pretty darn good. It looks like a AAA game, I think, in my opinion.
Really?
Like, yeah, I think it looks every bit as good as like a Crash Bandicoot, or like, you know, the one that just came out, or you know, any of these types of games that are coming out recently. I think it looks just as good. Like, if you played it, I think you'd see what I'm talking about.
I did play it, but
yeah?
I feel like
I thought it looked good.
I
It
kinda
wears on
differ
me.
on that one. Like, I feel like it's
Like, do you know what I mean by it being smooth looking? Like, it looks like a cartoon, just as clear and smooth as like a cartoon. It doesn't look like last gen. It doesn't look like an old game, like an Xbox game.
yes and no. I feel like, to me, Psychonauts looks like something that could have been available on an Xbox One or like a PlayStation 3. It looks like basically they took the Psychonauts 1 like graphics or whatever and just spruced them up a little bit.
Have you looked at the
So, I
Psychonauts
mean,
1 graphics? Have you gone back and remember that game looks like? Because I looked at it and it looks really choppy compared
It's
to
been
this.
a while since I looked at it, but I mean, I remembered it not looking great at all. I mean, you know, I'd probably have to.
Like, they
pull up
keep
some
the
old
same art
detail.
direction for sure as Psychonauts 1, but it's way cleaned up. Much more
I
cleaned
mean,
up.
it's cleaned up, but I feel like it's like, okay, for it to be this quote unquote AAA title, right? By association, because it got bought out, you know, by Xbox. It still looks like a indie game.
Yes, that's where I would definitely
It looks
disagree.
like to me it looks like they pretty much like had the game already made, and then Microsoft was just like, hey, we just gonna buy y'all, and then they was like, all right, cool, we're gonna release this game, and then they just dropped it, like, and then they already had the shit. Like, it didn't look great to me. But that's
It
neither
looks
here nor
really
there.
clear and smooth. This is not like an indie title at all to me.
Okay.
Name an indie game that looks like this, that looks better than this, or even just as good as this.
Genshin
An indie.
Impact?
Well, I don't think that necessarily looks better than this.
You don't think it looks better?
It looks
than
better than this one. I mean,
it
they're
does.
both cartoon art styles.
But
And
I
is
don't know,
Genshin
it's
Impact
like-
an indie?
I think Genshin Impact.
I don't
is an
think
indie.
that's an indie.
Check.
Let me see what it cost. $100 million to make that game. That's a AAA game.
Yeah, but who's the studio that made it?
It's not about the studio. It's about the studio. It's a Korean studio, but they spent $100 million on that game, dude. Developer Miho Yo,
How much you think they spent on Psychonauts?
probably like 20 million.
Yeah, it's just like, it just looks like a more defined older Psychonaut. But anyways, go ahead with the rest of
I
the games
mean,
you been playing.
so they're saying Schaefer said this is a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
13 million to fund, but this game has been in production for a long time, man.
It has, but I'm saying
Like a
when
decade.
it first came out, it was giving us good stuff.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you go back and look at like Psychonauts 1,
Mortal
like,
Shell,
it looks
shit.
pretty ugly. Yeah, I don't think Mortal Shell looks better than this one does.
No?
Dude, I think this looks pretty good. Like, clearly, like, it's very clear. There's nothing choppy about it. You know, like, yes, it's
I'm not saying how it performs.
not just performs, like, the graphics are smooth. Like, if I look here at this still image of like the brain and like the water, it all looks like, it doesn't look like it's old it's so clear and defined that it looks more like an art direction rather than like a hardware problem. Right?
Yeah,
like
I definitely don't. I don't see it being a hardware problem. I just feel like it's for it to be coming out with next gen.
Like
stuff,
for instance, let me give you
like,
this
it doesn't
example.
look next gen or
Like
anything
Grand
near
Theft Auto
close.
San Andreas,
Uh-huh.
like that game, it's gonna look old because the hardware it was made on.
Right.
Right? This doesn't look old. Like it looks so. So if you look at Grand Theft San Andreas or Grand Theft Auto 3 or Vice City, they look blocky and old because of the hardware it was made on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, like, that's a hardware issue, why it looks the way it looks.
Well, I mean, even if you put it on a PS5,
It's going to look blocky because of because the game was built on old hardware.
for old hardware or whatever.
Well, built with old hardware, too. Not just for old hardware, but built literally on old gen hardware.
Okay.
It was built on a PS2, right? Like, it was built, the game was a dev kit or
So
whatever.
you're saying like old software or whatever that they
Hardware.
were doing it.
Hardware, graphic cards, processors. Software is like the game itself is software. I'm talking about hardware. It was made on old hardware,
Okay.
right? So like, for instance, if you take a game like a pixel art game, like any pixel art game that just came out, like for instance, Hyper Light Drifter. I don't know if you know that game or not.
I don't, but go ahead.
Okay, or any pixel art game that came out. How about Shovel Knight?
Okay.
Like Shovel Knight, that game can be made on like old hardware. Like it takes very minimal hardware to make that game.
Right.
Psychonauts, when you look at the way it looks, it's very clear, smooth, defined. There's nothing blocky. There's nothing choppy about it. And so for me, when I look at it, by choppy, I mean like you can see like the blocks.
Pixel
you can see the
differentiation
lines
and
aren't straight, right? Because the pixels are so blocky.
Right.
You know, like for instance, I think a lot of Nintendo Switch games like Mario Odyssey, they can, because the hardware is not very high tech. Sometimes you can see those problems, like the edges and stuff on some of the games can look a little bit like choppy. The lines aren't quite like smooth.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It looks good, but it's not like smooth. Like this looks very, very smooth, and like it looks like it looks like they got 100% of what they wanted out of their art style here. It doesn't look like they held back anything because they needed it to be like a cheaper game.
I just found it weird that some of the characters look different from other characters. Like, for instance, Rasputin, the main character.
Mm-hmm.
He looked different from that potato looking dude. The one with the big mustache or whatever.
Yeah, it's like
Excuse
a
me.
Tim
They look
Burton
like-
style to me.
Yeah, they look like two totally different characters.
Yeah.
Like they didn't belong in the same world.
Right.
So it was weird to me.
Like a Tim Burton movie.
No, I felt like the Tim Burton movie, like all of them looked like they had the same animation or art style going, like claymation type stuff or whatever.
So not just
But,
how they
like-
look themselves as people.
No.
Oh, you
but-
mean the art style?
Yeah, because it just seemed like the potato head guy had kind of like glares and gleams to him, like as if they were trying to go claymation style, smooth, shiny, or whatever. But Raz was like flat a little bit, like a different art style that they tried to do. So it's almost like I don't know what they were portraying with that. You know what I mean? And some of the characters had more definition in the face than Raz did. Like, so it just seemed like to me, it just seemed like certain things were like half-assed done. Like, you know, it just, but I mean, that's not even really my gripe
I
about
think
it.
those are artistic choices, in my opinion.
It
But
it might be. And if it
I don't think it's half-assed.
if it is, I dislike those type of choices that they decided to go with the artistic vision. You know, some of the weird artistic visions can be kind of cool because it's like, it just some of the ways that it looks like, you know, Borderlands cell shading, you know, type of art style, or you know, Genshin Impact's like almost like like anime style or something like that,
Right.
or whatever. There's other ones that
I'm
look
just
kinda
saying
cool,
you can
but I
tell
just didn't like that.
you can tell the difference between like a game that's come out on a previous generation versus a game that's come out on like the most recent generations. Even with like Borderlands. And then you can tell the difference between Borderlands 1's graphics and Borderlands 3. Like even though they use the same art style, you can tell one is more smooth, one is less choppy, one is clearer, more defined. Even though they're the exact same art style. They're both cell shading art style. And that's what I'm saying here.
Yeah, and
it looks like they
that.
got all they wanted out of their art style.
Yeah, it feels like okay, if I've got like the most super pumped up like PC that I could possibly get. I paid $10K for it, to get it going so I could make a video game on it. But I made a video game that could essentially play on this basic bitch PC, all in one that I got in my room. That like it just seems like it's not taxing. It wasn't taxing the system when they tried to make it. It definitely wasn't breaking no gauges or anything like that. Like, ooh, I'm gonna push the system. Like, it just seemed like it was very bland for what they could have done. Like, they could have made that game way more heightened. The water could have been, way more bright or wavy or realistic looking or something like that. But I guess, because of whatever art style choice that they decided to make on it, that's why it looks the way it looks.
Well, I mean,
I just don't care for it.
Why would Borderlands is going to be the way it looks? Like, it's always going to be cell shaded, regardless of the generation.
But
so
some of the
Psychonauts
looks a little bit better when they go up. But I mean, they still working on the same system. I don't know if they really been doing any upgrades on their stuff. Now, when you look
I don't know.
at
I'm just saying,
compared to like Godfall, it's two totally different things.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is like Psychonauts is already a game that exists, and they're going to keep it in the same vein of what it is. But it looks updated for modern gen.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
looks
if you
updated
compare
for
it
modern
from
gen.
the first to the
it's
second,
not like they just kept the way
updated.
it looked from Xbox One or whatever. Like, it looks much more clear, much more defined, much more crisp. Like, it just looks way better to me. Like, the worlds look much more real and defined to me. I don't know how far like you've gone to either, but like, it just looks really good, and it's growing on me more. Like, as I play it more, like, it's no longer a gripe for me. Like, oh, it looks old. I don't think it really does. Like, if I sit and I kind of like look at it and study it and see how it looks, like, I go, wow, this looks like a modern day game. Like, as far as like the art style is weird and wonky. I agree. Like, the characters look weird and strange, and they go different directions with the way what some characters look and the way some other characters look. It's very weird. But I'm just talking about like the tech itself looks like perfectly modern to me. Like, it doesn't look like there's any problems with the way it looks tech-wise.
So how do you like the gameplay?
So the gameplay, I do, in a lot of ways, I do like it. Like I said before, I wish it could be a little better when the combat comes on, because I don't like how I can't cancel, attacks. I want to be able to dodge cancel. Like, to me, that just makes the gameplay feel so much smoother. This doesn't have that. There's been a lot of dialogue. A lot of talking, I wish there was a little more hand holding, like maybe like an objective like marker on my map, so I know where I'm supposed to be going. Like, I find myself opening up my menu and going over to my quest log and to read the quest to see where I'm supposed to go.
But isn't it kind of like a straightforward path though? Like, it's on rails. The only mission I've done is Lobato's mission. That's it. The first opening mission.
It's not quite like that. Maybe it turns into that. But like, what happens is you go to. Have you got out of Lobato? Have you finished that and like gone in the spaceship and flying to headquarters or whatever?
Yeah, I literally just got done with Lobato.
Okay, so you're gonna fly to headquarters right now, and you're gonna go to like Psychonauts headquarters, and there's gonna be like a big, convention hall, right? And there's all these little directions you can go. And so, like, me, a completionist, I want to run around all the different halls. And so I kind of got lost in that. And I like forget, what the hell am I supposed to even be doing? I don't know where I'm supposed to go.
Okay.
And then like there'll be like intercom things like, Rasputin, get to this location. I'm like, I don't even know where that's at. And there's no marker telling me which way to go. So I have to pull my... So
you're talking about like in between these missions, whatever, that type of stuff.
Like, there's no direction on where you're supposed to go.
I got you.
So you haven't seen that yet?
Right.
And maybe I'm not to the point where like you keep going back that zone. I have no idea. But it's like I'll pull my map up and it'll say I'm supposed to go to class. Okay. I'll look around and I'll see like a hallway that says classes. It's like, oh, that's where I go because I'm supposed to go to class. Okay. But there's no like, objection dot like there that I can see. Oh, that's where I'm supposed to go.
Do they show you anything on the top of the screen like always having your objective posted up or anything? No?
Nope. Okay. The only way I see it is if I open up my journal. Okay. And I look inside there. Right. And maybe that's just like an ode to old school gaming because that is more so how we used to game in the past. There isn't like this, TomTom, satellite, directional
they mostly
arrow.
Do that when they expect you to listen and pay attention to the game. When you
right,
right,
and we don't really
sitting down and
that too. We sit there and we listen.
Yeah.
But the thing is too, like I may have sat down and listened, but that's a hallway over there. I want to go down that hallway, and then when I go down that hallway, I encounter somebody. They give me something to do, and I got to go down this direction, and I got to go down this direction, and then I come back to the main hall, and I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot what I was supposed to be doing, and there's no like objective reminder or anything like that on the map. Okay. So I just think that just might be an ode to old school gaming because that's how they used to game. And you're right. These days we just skip through dialogue. Like we don't sit and listen to things these days as gamers.
Things that we care about.
It's very rare.
If I care about the story, I'll sit there and watch it. Like I watched Plague Tales. I watched all of the cutscenes of that. I didn't skip through that shit. But like Dodgeball Academia, I was mashing through that. You know what I mean?
But Dodgeball Academia had a little objective button on your map. Telling you where to go.
They had objective.
So you didn't need to listen to the dialogue.
You had to go.
Right. So you didn't need to listen to the dialogue. You didn't need to open anything up to read and find out where you're supposed to go. Like if I'm playing Plague Tales, there's only one way to go. Like you just keep going forward. You keep going in the direction. You don't need something to tell me what direction to go.
There were certain things that you had to listen to like, oh, like you were supposed to grab this or something like that, and that's on the table. Because sometimes things don't proc. Like, oh, I should go over here because it's glinting. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, I'm in this room and I was distracted and I didn't pay attention to what that dude was saying. So now I got to run around this room and figure out what the hell I was actually supposed to do, or else I'm just going to be wasting time. Or I just restarted the checkpoint, go talk to the guy again so that I can listen to the whole thing again.
I'm just saying, like, if you're going to have any open aspect to a game, like Plague Tales and it's not open game.
No, it's not.
It's a you're on rails. If you're gonna have any openness to your game, you got to have some kind of direction counter because you get lost in that openness and forget what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Now, luckily, the directions are good enough on the log, the quest log, that I can like figure it out really easily. But that's just a little tiny like quality of life thing that I would have added that I'm surprised they didn't add.
Right.
Other than that, like I do like the gameplay. I really do enjoy it. I think there's a little bit too many things to collect, in my opinion. Like there's too many things I think to collect and keep track of. So that's a little bit of an issue. It's a little bit cluttered in that respect. Right. There's lots of things. You have like bag tags, you have crystals, you have brains, you have figments,
luggage that
you have luggage. Find. You have like a lot of little things to collect. And it can get very difficult to keep track of what they all do and like what the point of me doing this is. There's baseball cards to collect, which you probably haven't gotten to that yet. They're not baseball cards, but I call them baseball cards because you collect these cards.
Yeah.
There's little side tokens you collect. There's a ton of things you collect. It's ridiculous, kind of. And so I'm kind of bothered by that. I do like all the psychic powers are pretty fun. Some of them aren't quite as intuitive as I think they would be. Like when you double jump. For some reason, to glide, you have to hold a different button. Why can't it just be a hold A down? Right? Like I jump, I hold A down, and I'm gliding. Why do I have to press jump and then hold the trigger so I can't double jump? If I double jump, I lose my opportunity to glide. You know what I'm talking about? Have you experienced that? So it's like, that's really frustrating to me, a control problem.
Now, the opportunity to glide, is that where the balloon pops like extremely quick?
No, you just can't glide at all. If you've double jumped, you can't glide.
Because I've had the issue where I'll do my jump and then I go to hit the trigger to glide and then my balloon pop comes up, but it immediately pops and I just fall to my death. So it's like, what the fuck was I even pulling out the balloon for?
Right.
But like I don't know what to justify as how big my balloon is gonna get. Like, your balloon's supposed to get big, and then it slowly gets smaller and smaller until it pops, and then you fall. And wherever you land is where you land, and it could be to your death or whatever.
Right. I don't like that mechanic either.
But it's like,
why can't I just glide and slowly decline?
yeah. Why is it timed? Why isn't the timing the decline?
Right.
Like,
I agree.
Why does my balloon dictate how long I can even stay in the
bizarre.
air?
It's bizarre choices like that I don't really like. So like I said, it's hit and miss because there are some things that I think they nail out of the park. Like, I do like the way my karate chopping feels. I do like the way my shooting feels. I don't like the way the jumping is. I don't like that I have to press a different button to glide. All games that we've played more recently, like any of them, Breath of the Wild or whatever, you press A to jump, you press it again to double jump, and then you hold it to glide. Like, that's totally normal to me.
Right.
That does not happen here.
It's just all on that one button, because that's the only reason why you would use it.
Right.
Like,
you save lots of time. And then it goes back to my problems with the attacking, and you have to stop your attack to dodge. That's old school, man.
Right.
Like, the game is lost in the past there. Super. And also, like, I don't like how I have like 4 abilities, and then I have to swap between them on my
I haven't
wheel.
even gotten to that, but that sounds
That's
atrocious.
annoying, bro. It's really annoying. Like, seriously.
Because you'd have to. I mean, because you've got the basic abilities like your LT, and that's the glide, right?
No,
that's your basic glide, and then you're jumping on the balloon ball.
No, you actually have to equip that glide.
So you can take that glide off?
Yes.
Oh, shit. Okay.
It's frustrating because, like, yeah, what if I come across a situation where I want to turn this ability on? I have to shut off another ability.
Yeah.
It's super annoying. It's not like Control when I think of, like, psychic powers.
Yeah.
But like I said, like, the world is very artistically interesting to me. I enjoy exploring it. I have fun with that. But it just has these, in my opinion, like, these old school, situations that
feels old.
I don't know what to call it. Yeah, antiquated.
Feels old.
It's very antiquated in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But like I said, I do think that I am more pleasantly surprised by how it looks than what I was expecting it to look like.
Uh-huh.
I do think they did a good job on making it look pretty darn good. For being a game that's trying to emulate an old school art style. They did a really good job, I think, in that department.
Right.
And like I said, I do think it's interestingly written. The voice acting is really good, I think. And so there's hit and misses here for me. So those are the games I've been playing now. You've been playing that as well. So I guess I'll hear what you have to say on it.
Well, I won't go too deep on it or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just feel like playing it, I played the first like mission, I guess, like basically all of Lobato and getting to the end.
Right.
And I felt myself. I felt like I was forcing myself to play it, right? Because, we had this conversation about like, oh, there's no games to play. Like, that's what I said, is that there's really no new games to play. So that's why, I'm playing like Let It Die and stuff like that, because Let It Die is intriguing me more than anything that could be out at the moment.
Sure.
And granted, I could be possibly playing Watch Dogs Legions, something I haven't beat or even opened up yet. I could be trying to finish Valhalla. I could be trying to finish Cyberpunk, whatever, you know what I mean? There's some things that I can play. But at the moment, Let It Die has my attention. So that's what I've been wanting to play. So, I've been playing Let It Die quite a bit. Brahms, I finally got to the 25th floor, man. I got past that. I'm all the way at 29, bro, so I'm coming up. But so I was playing that one heavy. I played Psychonauts 2 because you was getting on my head telling me that this game was a game that I should play. I had made the comment that there's no game that I should play. And I felt like Psychonauts 2 wasn't one that I should be like, it's the talk of the town type of thing. You were saying that it was like one of the biggest AAA titles, but I still don't consider Double Fine a AAA title. But yeah, for Xbox. I still don't consider Double Fine a AAA title, but it is one now by association. But I played it. As far as the story was concerned, it wasn't really compelling me to like interest me in watching it. The gameplay, it felt like I was playing like a really old school platformer. You know what I mean? Like just some of the aspects of jumping on the teeth and stuff like that, and trying to collect all of the things and trying to use my pyrokinesis to burn posters off the wall. And that was a bitch, because first of all, I don't know exactly which posters I'm supposed to burn, and then trying to burn every poster that I was seeing.
The only way that power is used as you move through the game is just like to find hidden rooms.
To burn the pictures down and get what's behind the wall.
You might get what's behind the wall. It's not like a mechanic that you need. Like in that one instance where you needed it to move forward.
Yeah.
That's not what the game is. The game doesn't utilize it that way.
But they also had enemies that they say burned, like they burned.
Yeah,
really
you don't have
good.
to burn them, but yes, they're weak to fire.
Right. So I thought that the pyrokinesis, like how to use the ability, was atrocious unless I wasn't using it properly. But it seemed like you had to be up on something for it to then kind of like essentially lock onto the target, as that's what you want to burn. And then it would kind of highlight it gold, and then you could release and it would set it on fire.
Yeah.
I felt like it should have been more of an aiming thing, like I feel like there is no aiming. It's just kind of like it'll gravitate towards the nearest enemy or whatever, as long as you're kind of looking in a direction.
Right.
And I kind of wish there was aiming for my abilities. But
yeah,
if you were to aim, you'd be taking away something.
I would much rather shoot fire than make this ball of fire. It is weird. It is a weird way of using fire,
even if I made the ball of fire, let me project it towards the area
it's
that
just
I want to.
And it takes a while to charge it up. It's a weird choice of direction for that power.
Yeah, and then it's like pyrokinesis is mostly any time that I've ever used it in a video game, it's to light something ablaze from afar, not be right up on it. And
or a flamethrower can be kind of short range, but more medium range.
Right. Yeah. You got to kind of get close.
Not
but
short
I feel like
that.
with that pyrokinesis, you got to be up on them.
Yeah.
Like whatever it was, and trying to burn down those posters, because I thought I had to burn down everything, because I thought Lilia was saying you had to burn down everything. I was like jumping all on the walls and shit, lighting everything ablaze, and I'm like, this is taking for fucking ever, and like I'm not even knowing how, like, what's counting and what isn't, because I see a number on the thing, like you're saying, a collectible or like a number going
there's so
up,
many things to collect. It's very hard to follow.
Yeah, I was just like, bruh, but I mean, the telekinesis ability was like okay. I found myself like using it sometimes, but not like, it didn't feel like, like Control, where you're using it a lot, because it's like, you're just pulling. With Control, you pull anything.
Right.
And you're throwing it. But the other one, I was using it and it would just give you an X, like telling you, nah, you can't use it. So it's just like, okay.
That's the one I shut off most, because I told you have to like only have 4 abilities.
Right.
So that's the one I shut off the most, actually. Right. So I don't want to shut off my glide. I don't want to shut off my guns. You can shut off your fists, dude. You're chomping.
Yeah.
Wait, maybe you can't shut that off. No, that you can't shut off. No, that one you can't shut off. No, I'm wrong about that.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's like crazy. Like almost all your abilities you can shut off, and it's like crazy. And you get some more later, you'll see.
Right. And I kind of like the shot one, the far shot one.
That one's cool. I enjoy that one too. That feels good.
Yeah, but you got to be looking kind of, semi in the area, the direction of that, in order to get it. And sometimes you might hit the wrong thing or whatever.
Right. But that's relatively good. And the chopping is relatively good. You just can't chop cancel, which is really, really frustrating. So that takes some getting used to.
Right, and those stamps, they come
They
down
hit you every time because you can't.
So it's like, I would rather just pick them off with RB.
Yes, me too. I'll just shoot them, and then I might end them or like end it with a chop.
Yeah.
Because like, you see what I'm saying? How in a lot of games when you're hitting something, you're stun locking them.
Right.
Because they're being hit.
These guys don't
have any stun lock. They just ignore it. They ignore you're hitting them and then just stamp you. And it's like, that's completely different than whatever game I've ever played. Right? Ever. When I play Batman Arkham Knight, when I'm punching a dude, he is just stun locked. I have to dodge when someone else comes to hit me. But the dude I'm fighting isn't just ignoring my hits and punching back. Like, that's a really odd way of having combat.
Yeah.
So like, this is one of those games where like I don't agree with the Metacritic score. Because they gave it really high scores. Yeah, really high.
You were telling me that they were giving it like 80 somethings.
On PC, it's an 89 Metacritic, almost a 90. PC. On Xbox, it's an 88. Like, that's very high. That's like a little higher than Ratchet and Clank.
It's on par. It's almost on par with
It's
Ratchet
like the
and Clank. I think
same or
Ratchet
like
and
a
Clank was
point
getting
higher.
Like 93s or something
No,
like that. Wasn't
Ratchet was in the 80s.
Was it?
Yeah, it was.
Hmm.
Like like I'll look it up right now. It is an 88.
Okay, so it's getting the exact.
It wasn't
same
in the
scores
90s.
then.
So same as scores as Ratchet. And so that does intrigue me. Like when I first saw Psychonauts, it wasn't something that I was super excited to play.
Right.
But when I started seeing the scores roll in, I'm like, snap, it's that good? And so like I wanted to play it because like if this is going to be one of the best games of the year, then I got to try it. Because I'm always trying to keep track of what the good games are for the year, for our end of the year showcase of what we thought were the best games. And this was literally like the first or only like really major first party Xbox Microsoft Studio game they've released.
Yeah.
Because Double Fine is a Microsoft Studio now. It's a first party title.
Right.
And so I was like, I want to see, because this is basically their answer to Ratchet. This is Xbox's answer to Ratchet. Ratchet is on a technical, whole nother level technically, but it is their answer. They're in the same kind of vein with like the shooting and platforming.
Right.
They're kind of like in the same vein. But yeah, Ratchet's in a whole nother universe as
like
far
a
as like it
kiddie-ish
looks.
game or whatever.
Yeah, they're more younger audience kind of games.
Right.
Exactly. And so I wanted to try it, and I don't agree. I really don't agree with it. Ratchet, I agree with. It is an 88 and 90 to me. This is more like a 7.5. There's a charm to it. Like Psychonauts, there is a charm to this game. Like I don't want to say this is a bad game. It's not a bad game. There's a charm to it. There's a beauty to it. There's a refinement to it that is well made. But there are some old school clunks here that are hard to get by. And I agree with you when you say like you feel like I'm playing it just because I want to finish it because it's for me, it's one of the highest rated games in the year. I want to see what I'm supposed to be missing out on here. Yeah. If I don't play this, I'm supposedly missing out. And so I want to see, but it's hard to keep going when these little clunks get in the way, man. It is. I agree.
Yeah, I just like I'm glad that we're kind of on the same page. We're close. We not there, but we close. You know what I mean? I definitely feel like just for me, like for this game to have come out in this generation, I feel like it missed its boat. Like its boat should have been like last year before the PS5 and Xbox Series X even launched. Like this game should have came out, and I think that it
may even be a 360.
Been okay with it. It would. I'm telling you, I believe it should have been on like a PlayStation 3 or something like that. Like this shit is.
You're just
not
talking
taxing
gameplay wise, not how it looks.
Like the whole combination of it. Like it's not. It does not feel like, oh, it should have come out on the Series X or, oh, it should have come out on the PS5. Like, oh, this shit should have came out 360 PS3 time. Like, and it would have been perfectly fine. It would have been up to par and like ahead of its time. I know I understand that you feel differently about like how it looks and all of that stuff. But I'm just saying like the style of artwork that they chose or whatever, it just seems more like a lazy artwork to me. It doesn't seem like there was some artistic vision that they were trying to go for on this one. It just seemed like
you don't see an artistic vision there.
I don't see the artistic vision in it. I see
it's all unique though. It's like super unique.
Yeah, but
you know what I'm saying? It's not ugly for the sake of ugly because it has bad hardware. Like they chose their characters to look that way. That's a decision. At the same time,
people make 16-bit games and 8-bit games because they want that style of artwork or whatever.
Right.
It's not taxing on the system at all. They made it because that's the lane that they chose.
Right.
And they could make that game at any point in time. I feel like Double Fine has been holding on to Psychonauts 2 for like 4 or 5 years now. I feel like they've been like, been talking about it or working on it. People been asking about it. Like, I feel like this game has been damn near done. And like, I don't know what took so long for this shit to come out. But looking at it, I'm like, how come you didn't bring this out earlier? Like, was it like a money thing or something where you like in the process of trying to sell your company?
Yeah, they've been working on this for 10 years. Back in 2012.
All I'm saying is it don't feel like a 10-year project to me. But I mean, I could be wrong. I don't develop games, so this is just my outside looking in.
I think you have to look at it like everything is unique, dude. Like every zone, every mine is different and unique. Like you saw the tooth mine. That just doctor's mind. The next mine you go in is to like the head of the Psychonauts. It's completely different. It's a hospital. It's a completely different setting. Like every single mine you go into is a completely unique and different environment. So it's not like Far Cry, right? Where the whole world's the same. You have one art design, one art direction. Every single world is different. So like I can see where a lot of the work came in when you have a small team. Because if you have a really small studio development team, like I don't know how big his team is. I should look it up.
Yeah.
But when you have a small team, that's a lot of different things, you know, to juggle. All those different styles, all those different worlds, all those different art directions. You're dreaming up a whole new art direction. So you need to draw all those and create all those. And so I can just see them taking a lot of time if you have a small team developing this.
65 in 2015 is what Wiki is
Yeah,
saying.
that's pretty small, dude.
That's in 2015. We don't know how many they acquired once they got put on by Xbox.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
I'm just saying I can see a lot of work here. I'm not saying it's 10 years of work. That I hear you on that. But I do see a lot of work here. This doesn't seem like lazy to me at all. It does seem I can see this being like Double Fine's labor of love. I can see them putting a lot of love into this game. It's very special in a lot of ways. Like I said, you've only seen one brain. You haven't seen all the minds.
Yeah,
and so
I understand.
there's
the
a lot
concept of
here.
different
There's a
levels
lot
and shit.
here, you know, and like that was a lot of artistic work, dude. Like the teeth floating in the warehouse platforms, like all that's all an artistic direction,
Yeah,
right?
is.
And like the
It
zipper
is.
teeth, like that's all an artistic direction and design.
Yeah.
That's not just like lazy. That's like artistic in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it's charming in its own way. You know what I'm
Like,
saying?
I hear you, and I'll do my best to no longer shit on the game.
I think
but
you're being a tad harsh, but
all
I hear you at the same
I'm
time.
saying is that this shit coming out in 2021 is not it. Just for me. Like, as I played this, I understand that there's like some uniqueness going on, and you're actually, you know, this Dr. Lobato is a dentist, and so his mind is filled with teeth and shit like that. Like, that's all he thinks about is teeth. This motherfucker's nuts. So that's all he thinks about, and that's what his world is revolved around. You got teeth parrots and birds and all this other stuff and whatever. But if I just zoom in on the gameplay and the storyline, neither of those two made me want to come back to it. I felt like I wanted to play
That I
and
can agree
finish
with.
Lobato's mission so that I could have this conversation with you, and rightfully so, tell you why I don't want to play it again.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't appealing enough. It was nothing in it that drew me in to like say, oh, I gotta go back and finish this level. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I literally just wanted to finish the first mission so that I could be able to give it a justified, like, you know, a good look at it, and be able to have an opinion about it, and not just, you know, from trailers or something like that, you know, say, nah, I'm not fucking with it. You know what I mean? So I did want to play it and then be able to have this conversation with you and be like, you know, this is why. Like, for some reason, I felt like I was playing some shit back in, like, you know, 2000s or something like that. A platformer from the 2000s, you know, something that's on par with, like, the first Ratchet and Clank, or, you know, some of the other little games that's out there. You know what I mean? So if you're looking for nostalgia, then that's it. Like that, because it feels old. So if you're looking for like a nostalgia game, like an old school platformer, like that's what that feels like.
Yeah,
to me.
I would just preface it like I know what you mean by it being nostalgic and it has an old style to it. In some ways it does. But I will just preface it like it doesn't like look bad. Like it doesn't look like those old games.
No, it doesn't.
So
look
I don't
like
want
the
you
graphics
thinking
are
like
super.
If you go back and you play it, you're gonna be like
blocky and clunky and
It's not that,
whatnot.
right,
It's just
right.
It's just the artwork that I feel is trash. That's the artwork. That
and I
feel
can
is
see you
trash.
not
But
liking the art direction they
it's-
went.
It's the artwork as far as like how the artwork, the quality of the artwork looks good,
okay.
but the artwork itself to me is trash.
That I can understand.
So it's like a pretty
That's what I'm
garbage
saying.
can.
That's what I'm saying.
It's still trash.
I agree with that. I can
but
understand
it's a
that
pretty garbage
perspective.
can.
I don't necessarily like what they did
Mm-hmm.
with their art choice. I'm just saying it looks like they polished it really well. Like it's a lot more polished than I was expecting it to be.
Right. And you know what? I played the first Psychonauts. And I thought that the first Psychonauts was okay. And I think it worked more so because of when it came out. Like the quirkiness of it, the artwork of it and stuff like that worked for the year that it came out. But when you continue that, I feel like it should have evolved a bit more. I feel like it got upgraded, but I didn't feel like it evolved enough for me.
See, I was
So
expecting
that's
a less of an
unfortunate.
upgrade than it was because I was expecting more of like the original.
Oh, okay.
I was expecting it to look really old.
Yeah.
But they did, and so in my mind, they did a pretty good job of updating
They exceeded your expectations.
that bad
in that
art
part.
style, right? Like that I was like pleasantly surprised by.
Yeah.
And as I played more and as I saw more of the mines, like it wore on me a little more.
Okay.
But yeah, originally it was a little dark and drab, not really my style. But as I played it more, and I definitely wanted to give it a good go because I didn't want like any of my preconceived notions or ideas about what I was going to expect from it to tarnish how I thought. I didn't want to go in with a bad attitude and like I'm already know I'm going to dislike this and then just confirm my own biases, right? Like I really wanted to give it a good shot. And there are some things that I like about it, but I do think it's flawed for someone like you're saying, like me, who's played so many modern and new games and is like on that path that it's hard for me to get past it, you know?
Right.
When you played Ratchet and Clank, it's hard to play this because Ratchet and Clank is just so modern, right? It's just so technologically
Advanced. Like
today.
It's utilizing the full capabilities, or it's utilizing a large amount of capabilities of the PS5. You know what I mean? The system that it's on, it feels like it was at least due for that one or the PS4. Like, you know what I mean? Like it feels like it was within its time frame. I just feel like, you know, for there to be a AAA title, as you're saying, not so many of them for the Xbox.
Right.
For this to be one of them, it just seems kind of like
This is
I'm
one of their like
dumbfounded.
exclusive kind of
Like,
things. It's not exclusive, but this is one of their like, this is, hey, your
Right.
Game
This
Pass
is
game,
from
dude.
My
This is-
studio.
This is your brand new day one Game Pass game from first party Microsoft.
Right.
None of those come out. None.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't count Flight Simulator. That has came out last year, right? Like this is the newest thing that came out just this year, and it's like I wanted to give it a good shot, and it was getting scores just as high as Ratchet.
Right, I
I'm like,
mean-
is this really going to compete with Ratchet?
And
Seriously?
they had others, you know, like Medium and stuff like that, but you know, those were
That's a
were
second
ass.
party, I think, right? I think it's more of a second party game. I don't think it's a first party.
I thought Medium.
I don't
was
think
a first
I don't
party.
think Microsoft owns that studio.
So. It was just on Game Pass.
Yes,
It was a
just on
Game Pass exclusive, but
Yes.
it wasn't a Microsoft studio.
I don't think it's a Microsoft owned studio that
Okay.
made that game.
I'd have to check. But
So that's
yeah.
what I mean by first party. Like
Right, right,
Microsoft owns it, and
Okay.
it's like this is their name. And so I wanted to see it. I want to see, is this going to compete with what Sony just brought out with Insomnia? It's not. You know, I saw someone make a really good analogy the other day, the difference between Microsoft and Sony, and I think it's like very apt. And I heard it on the Dave Jaffe podcast, the guy who made God of War. I talk
Okay.
about him quite a bit on the show. And the analogy was like Xbox is cable TV and Sony is HBO. Right? Like you don't get very many games from Sony, but the ones you
But you
do
get the high
get
quality
are
shit.
like crazy high production value. And Microsoft is just like
You
a
get
whole
everything.
bunch of stuff all the time. And sometimes you just want to sit on the couch and watch cable. Like sometimes you do. You just want to hop on the couch and watch, you know, an old rerun. Like nostalgia, like you're saying. Sometimes you want to do that. And Microsoft does that really well. And then sometimes you want that cutting edge, acclaimed Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, you know, Uncharted. You want that like high quality, and that's what and so they both fit in the lane really well. I like both these systems so much. I do. I play them both.
Sometimes
regularly.
you gotta get 2 subscriptions.
Sometimes you got to get 2 subscriptions because I do like them both a lot. But Psychonauts feels like that, like cable television, like a good TV show, but it's not Game of Thrones. Like it just isn't Westworld, right?
Yeah, it feels like to me, like when you going through the channels, you know, sometimes like when you got like satellite or whatever, and they got the low numbers and then they got the high numbers.
Yeah.
And so you know the difference, right? The low numbers is the standard def shit.
Right.
And then the high numbers is that HD quality.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like Psychonauts was showcased on the standard def, but it was just like a good quality standard def. Where it's almost like you look at it and you like, damn, something weird about this channel. Maybe it's the box closing. It's because it's not the 16:9. But something weird about this one. But
like
it's
this
okay.
looks special, but not quite something wrong with it, right?
This looks weird, but it's
Yeah.
but I don't know what to put my finger on it or whatever.
Yeah, it's different. It's different. I wanted it to be a little better than it was, because I was hoping that Microsoft will release a good game.
Right.
And I do want to emphasize it's not bad, and there are some things to like here, and you as an audience member might really enjoy it, and you might find that charm.
Let us know in the comments down below if if you guys like that type of artwork style, and if you've played it, like how do you feel about it?
Is it really fun for you?
Is it giving you that 88 type of score?
It ain't no Hades, man. Like when I play Hades, everything about it's beautiful and polished. This doesn't feel that way.
Hades make me want to come back to it.
Yeah, every second I can't wait to play it again.
Like this
yeah, I can understand that.
You would give this a 70?
I would give this a 70 probably.
A 70?
7.5 at most.
Okay. So I would give this about a 60.
So that's a little low in my mind.
Maybe a 63. But I'm griping on it, harping on it.
You are more than me.
So
I think there's more charm to it than that. But it's not good. It's like it's okay. It's not bad. It's just okay.
Yeah, if I was to give it like a pass or trash, I would call it trash. But I understand that you would still give it a pass.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't like a thumbs up or thumb down system.
Yeah.
I like a 10-point system at minimum. Because I think there's a lot of games that aren't trash. And there's a lot of games that aren't good. And there needs to be some, because this is not trash to me. This is definitely not trash. Like, there's lots of games I can point to that I think are trash.
I love you, me.